Welcome to the Mindset Connection podcast. This is our 11th episode. Thank you for tuning in with us. We are your hosts, Jennifer Clearwaters and Cindy O'Connell. If you are new to us, every show we are featuring people who are doing amazing things in the field of mental health and wellness. And we hope that you find our guests just as amazing and inspiring as we do. And today we are welcoming our friend, Melissa Girkesh, to the podcast. Thank you for coming, Melissa.
Thank you for having me.
This took a very long time to get Melissa to be released from her very busy schedule, so we are very appreciative she's here. So let me tell you a little bit about her. Melissa is currently the Assistant Director of the Atlantis Preparatory School in Manasquan, the Prep School Enrichment Director, the Summer Camp Director, and she's also a preschool teacher there. We are not sure how she's doing all these jobs. Melissa completed a bachelor's degree in athletic training from Towson University, a master's degree in teaching elementary education from Monmouth University, a second master's degree in administration and leadership from Georgian Court University, and also has her postmaster's school supervision endorsement. In addition to all of these responsibilities at Atlantis Prep, Melissa has also been highly involved in raising money for Alex's Lemonade Stand, which is an organization that funds research and resources for childhood cancer. Melissa is also a cancer survivor herself. She's going to tell you that story and has participated in many events to raise money and awareness for cancer research. Melissa received her cancer diagnosis while she was working full-time, raising her son, who was very busy with lots of activities, and also while she was going through the process of adopting another family member into her home. This process took years, and she's definitely going to give us an insight on that. So Melissa became very skilled in dealing with various agencies that come along with the process of adoption and also with dealing with a family member that has mental health needs. And she devoted endless hours to therapy sessions, medical appointments, meetings with caseworkers and staff from various agencies all over the county. So Melissa's actually going to share what it's like for a parent to be on the end of dealing with something like that. And she's going to provide some resources and some tips for our families out there. So we thank you for coming and we're going to get started.
Thank you.
All right, Melissa, thank you so much for making the time to be with us today. I think you have a lot to share. So where to start? I believe the best place to start is what you're currently doing at Atlantis Prep. So maybe you can tell us how you manage all of the responsibilities that you have. Assistant director, teaching classes, among the other things.
Well, I'm kind of trying to figure it out as I go, honestly.
Okay.
I've been there for almost 25 years. And yeah, so it's like a second home to me. I started teaching and I went to administration and I've been just teaching enrichment clubs. So they're like 45-minute clubs throughout the week. And a position opened up in September and my son went to college and I was like, you know what? I could use a little change. So it was like a part-time teaching job. So I was like, I could do both. And that's how it happens.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's your day typically like?
Well, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I teach my class till 1:00. And then, I'm busy getting them off to their enrichments or they go home. And then I kind of do things in my classroom or clean up, prep for the rest of the week, enrichments after school. Tuesday, Thursday, do the office work, try to do what I used to do in 5 days, go back to doing it in 2 days, also teaching the enrichments. Yeah, I still don't have the
rhythm
down. I don't know yet. So I have a lot of late days. I take a lot of things home. I go in on Saturdays or Sundays. But I find it like if I'm like cutting out, pandas or something at home watching TV, it's relaxing to me. Or if I go in on a Saturday, no one's there. And, I'm just setting up play centers in my classroom. I actually really like that.
So I just want to clarify too. So just explain what the grade level is because people are saying she's cutting out pandas.
Yeah, they may not know anything.
What grade is that?
So,
yeah.
Atlantis Prep School is 2.5-year-olds or 2-year-olds to 5-year-olds turning 6. They are kids that could be technically in kindergarten, but they need another buffer year. So it's called kindergarten prep. I teach, it's called junior learners, and they are 3-year-olds turning 4. So that's why, like, I'll be cutting out groundhogs for Groundhog's Day, little hearts to
Gotcha.
make love bugs this week. It's the 100th day of school today. So today, everyone in school is celebrating the 100th day. So it's very different from administration. So they're two very different jobs, which is actually very nice.
And you're doing what you just said to Cindy. I'm doing what I did in 5 days in 2 days.
That's where, you know, I'm struggling with the balance, but I'm trying, you know.
Okay. And that's
I'll
all you
find
can
it.
do.
I'll
That's
find
all
it.
you can
Yeah.
do. That's all you can do. So let's talk about Alex's lemonade stand. So
Yes.
maybe you can explain to our listeners what that is, because they may not be familiar, and how you became involved.
Well, I've always been involved in cancer research. The Atlantic Club, when I first started, was very involved in the walk for cancer, for breast cancer, the Avon Walk, and in New York City. And I did that. And then I learned about Alex's Lemonade Stand, and that's just for children. Children's cancer is very, very under-supported, under-researched. And I always, like, if somebody was having a Alex's Lemonade Stand, I'd always give money to it. A lot of companies try to raise money for Alex's Lemonade Stand. I know I always see it in Applebee's and stuff like that. So I'd always be interested in that. Then when my nephew, who is now turning 21 soon, which is crazy, he was shy of 4 years old. He was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, lymphoblastic lymphoma, right before his 4th birthday, stage 4. So I saw what my brother and my sister-in-law were dealing with, and everyone says, oh, they have great insurance, because my sister-in-law works for the government. But it's more than that. It's for the parents. It's, you know, you have a little kid.
Your child is just diagnosed with this awful thing.
Yeah, and you're not going to work.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're going to the hospital, and they went to Robert Wood Johnson, which is in New Jersey, but there's still, your bills are still coming.
That's right.
And your normal bills, your gas, you still have to pay. Your mortgage, you still have to pay. So yes, maybe the medical bills are being paid, but guess what? You have to drive there every day.
And you're not
You have
earning
to
money.
eat.
You're not working.
You do not have a paycheck. You know, all these things are adding up, and it was just amazing, like, how much money you're losing, and how so many people with children with cancer, they lose their jobs. They, you know, they lose their homes. They become divorced. It's really a struggle on parents. It's just unbelievable struggle. And it's so sad. And Alex's Lemonade Stand, they raise money for the families, for cancer research, for the families, for the families to commute to the hospital, for them to, you know, for food, for lodging, for all the things that you don't think
that
about.
no one's
parents
thinking
need.
about.
Yeah.
Yeah. People don't realize the stress on the entire family.
The entire
the other
family.
siblings.
And guess what?
You know.
Christmas still comes, where people, you know, you get Christmas gifts. Well, how do you get Christmas gifts? You have no money, and, you know, your cell phone bill and all the things, all the bills keep coming. And what if you don't have insurance? And, you know,
so let me ask you, you know, suppose I have a child who's diagnosed with cancer, and, you know, I have good insurance, but, you know, I'm in this situation.
Right.
What do I do? Apply to this
how
company?
like,
how do I find it?
They
What do I
have
do?
to, so they have to reach out to Alex's Lemonade Stand.
That's what I figured.
So in 2000, this little girl, Alexandra Scott, was diagnosed with cancer. And in 2004, she had a lemonade stand, and she raised, I think it was like $2,000. And then she eventually passed away, which is so sad. She was going to be, I think, let's see, 29 this year. She started it, and now they've raised over $300 million since then. And it just grew and grew. And it was just, she just wanted to raise money for kids with cancer.
So people can actually just apply, reach out, apply, and I'm assuming people are not turned down.
No one is turned down, and they give 100% of the proceeds to families, to research, to lodging. 100%.
Wow.
They have a
worthwhile
huge
cause.
gala every year, which I've gone to many of the galas, which, you know, just unbelievable. They're so beautiful. Everything's yellow and everything's lemonade, and these kids come up on stage and they give these beautiful speeches, and it just really, it moves you so much. So that's how it started.
How did your event start? Like, what does your event look like? Because you do a really good job with you pull a lot of people into it. Every year.
It started in 2011.
For Tyson.
For Tyson, I just wanted to do like let me go back. Atlantic Cup has a summer camp every year, and we have an activity calendar. Like every day is something on the calendar, and I was like, we should throw in a lemonade stand, and we'll just sell lemonade, and the counselors can make like baked goods. So I'll bring in cookies, you could bring in brownies, and we raised $1,000 that day, and we were like, oh my gosh, we raised $1,000, and it was just amazing. Well, the next year we raised more, and the next year we just kept. One year the older girls were like, we're gonna make bracelets, and then the next year the older kids were like, well, let's have a car wash. And then let's do penny wars, where every kid, every group was like, we'll bring in pennies, and we'll see whichever group brings in the most pennies, they get an ice cream party. And it's just grown and grown and grown over the years. And this year alone, in 2024, we just raised almost $7,000 this summer. And it's just a one-day event. In the last years, I have a good friend, Alyssa Stanek, who joined forces with me, and she's like, let's get the community more involved. And local businesses came in, and they were like, let me donate a gift card. And you could raffle off this gift card to an aerobics class or to a free dinner or so we started 2 years ago, and the raffles just did amazing. And we put it out to anybody who wanted to come. We sold raffle tickets that were $1 each, and we just raised like $2,000 in raffles. So this year we did it more, and most of our money honestly came from those raffles, and they're great, great prizes. And the community really, like, what they gave
stepped up
was amazing. And some local businesses, I have to shout out to Papa V's, who just came in, just wrote a check nonchalantly. He didn't even want his name. Wonderful? Yeah, and he's just amazing. They're in Brick, and they're just an amazing family. Justin, he didn't want us to say anything. He just wrote a check. Here, you can have this check. And it was a very large check. And we were just like, it was just really heartwarming, because all that money goes 100% to the cause, to kids with cancer, and to funding research and helping these families out who have no other help. Who really, really need the support.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much for your contributions. And for also, I think it's important when you work with students to let them know, hey, we can work to do something for someone else.
Yeah. I remember everything that you do, it doesn't matter. It could be large or small. Yeah. It makes a difference.
Oh, these kids would bring in money from their piggy bank. One mother stopped me. She said the kid wrote a note to the Tooth Fairy that he wanted $5 to give to the Penny Wars. And it just like, you just get all teary-eyed because, it's the campers and the counselors. The counselors, we don't buy any of the baked goods. The counselors and the team, the staff make all the baked goods. They're going out and they're buying the cupcake mix, and they're making the lemon bars, or and I have some parents that say, oh, can I drop off some baked goods? And we're like, absolutely. And everything's only $1. We'll never change that. Yeah. And then obviously if a kid doesn't have any snack or any money that day, they're getting a cupcake, and then lemonade, and it's just a great day. We play music, everybody wears yellow, and we count out all day long. We've raised $2,000, we've raised $3,000. It's just a really, really heartwarming day.
Yeah, it's a tribute to what you've created.
Exactly.
There.
It's just
you
amazing.
Have set the tone to get people involved,
and I have really great people helping me, like the office staff and the counselors. Like, you couldn't do it without the people who help you, because you couldn't do it alone.
No question.
There's no way.
So let's go back to you
now. We going back
and your personal journey with being diagnosed with cancer.
Right. So
why don't you just tell us? I mean, how did you? I mean, as much as you want to say, but going through. Obviously, I'm assuming it was within the past 25 years that you were diagnosed with cancer.
Yes.
So obviously, you were still working.
Yeah.
And you have a son who's, I think, a freshman in college. So,
So it was 2021. So, we're just coming off COVID. No one's, everybody's doctors are all, you haven't been to the doctor for a while. During COVID, all my doctors were backed up and, you're not really seeing anybody or going anywhere. So now you're back into work and you're starting to make your doctor's appointments again. And I just really wasn't feeling well. And I was just run down. And I'm like, maybe this is because I'm back to work now and I'm not home, in my pajamas all day. So I went to the doctor and they ran some blood tests. They didn't get back to me. When they say, you'll hear from us if there's bad news.
Yeah.
And you're like, well,
yeah.
I don't.
And you go, okay.
Okay. And I kind of looked at my chart, my health chart, and I shared it with my school nurse. And I was like, do these numbers look weird to you? And she said, yeah, you never got a phone call? And I said, no. So then I called them and I said, my numbers look weird. And they're like, I was like, I'm just really looking at them and I'm Googling, you Google MD.
Dr. Google.
Dr. Google. And they're like, yeah, maybe you should go get a mammogram. We're going to send you for that. So I went, got a mammogram. They, of course, called back. And everyone at school, all the women are like, oh, please, I've had to go back 3 times. They're fine. Don't worry. I went back again. I went back a 3rd time. And then, I'm at work one day and they call and they're like, can you come in and, share the results? I was like, no, can you just tell me? I'm like, I'm at work. And I just walked into my boss's office and I'm listening to her on the phone and I wrote down, I have cancer. And she's like, oh, and that's how I found out.
That's devastating.
Wow. Yeah.
But thank God you called back.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what if you didn't?
We're taught as women, look for a lump in your breast. And I didn't have that. It was all spread out. So they don't really tell you it can be spread out. You can have cancer if you don't have a lump.
There's
I just didn't know that.
Right. No,
personally, quite honestly. I just didn't feel well.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
That's how.
Well, that's taking care of yourself.
That
to
is.
notice
Right.
I'm not feeling well.
Right. I'm run
Maybe
down.
I better
do
run
something
down.
about it. And
So-
also to follow up with the doctors. Like, no
Exactly.
one called me, so I better call back again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because you leave there and they tell you you'll hear from if it's bad news, and you're like, okay, and then you just go about your day.
So then what happened?
So that was June 1st, and I had a double mastectomy July 7th. Wow. So it was really fast. It was like boom, boom. Here we go.
And that was
That was that.
That was that. Yeah.
And it was just a long haul after that.
Very difficult.
Very
Yes.
long.
Very
And it's not
difficult.
just you have the surgery and it's done.
No, you
Then
have a
to heal
surgery
and recover and
you have
reconstruction and there's all these steps.
Yeah. You think like a double mastectomy, it's over, but then they put expanders in, and then I had to learn all these things. I knew nothing about it.
Why would you?
I had
Exactly.
I didn't really have any experience or any friends, which I'm very grateful at the time that I was close to that had. I met friends after, but I didn't have any good friends that had it yet. So you have the expanders and you have to have that surgery. And then I wound up having 3 surgeries. So it just takes a long time. It took like about a year and a half to be done with the whole surgery, just the surgical process.
And were you working at that time?
Well, originally I had to take 12 weeks off of work, and then you go back to work, and then you take 10 off, and then you go back to work, and then I took 8 weeks off again.
Yeah.
So
which
it was
is
kind of back and
hard.
forth.
That
It was hard.
inconsistency for you.
And then I felt bad for the people I work with, quite honestly. I felt guilty because I was like,
Yeah, because look how much you do there and then you're
and
not there.
You just feel bad because they can't rely on you. And, not that they would feel that way, but you feel bad because you're not reliable, quite honestly.
Yeah.
Right.
So I just felt guilty all the time.
But look at you now. You don't feel guilty anymore, do you?
I still have that guilt. I feel that, and then as a survivor of cancer, you feel guilty when I have a really good friend that passed away from stage 4 cancer,
sorry.
breast cancer, and she has 2 little kids. And, that hit me hard because you feel guilty because you're like, well, why didn't that happen to me? I didn't have to go through chemo. I felt terrible because I didn't have to go through chemo. I lost my breast, but I didn't have to lose my hair. But that makes you feel terrible that why did these women have to lose their hair? It's just, it really messes with you mentally, honestly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you just said it. It messes with you mentally.
Yes.
So what did you do for yourself? And hopefully you're still doing things for yourself to cope with that. emotional.
Because again, when you're going through this, you didn't even know anything about the operations.
Right.
No.
So and you went from not being able to work full time. You had a son at home who was also having to go through this with you.
Right.
And then you were also in the process of bringing another person into the family.
Right.
So like, how did you deal with all of
You
this?
just have to rely on like your friends and family, quite honestly. If you have a good support system, you really have to rely on them.
And learn to ask for help.
Yeah. Yeah. And I had to learn to ask for help, and I had to lean on people, and you see who's not there for you and who's there. And
That's right.
people step up that you wouldn't imagine would, and then they become your people.
Yes.
And you know, you'll always remember who was there, but you have to have a good support system, which I'm lucky I did, because I can't imagine if you didn't.
I can tell that you have a good support
Yeah, I
system
really
by
do.
the way you're talking about it, and you know, the way you survived it.
Yeah. I'm very thankful for the people in my life.
Yeah.
So let's talk about, you know, as you're going through cancer and treatments and raising your son, then how did this process come where you made a decision to adopt a family member into your already existing family? And you can share as much as as little as you like.
So my daughter, so I was working at the Atlantic Club, and a family member's child was going there for camp. She was with a foster family at the time, and they couldn't take care of her any longer. And this is before COVID. So this was a few years earlier. And then I was seeing her bouncing back and forth from house to house. And I talked about it with my son, and real fast, because I was seeing it was like a Friday night, and she was going to get sent somewhere else on that weekend.
To another
foster home. And I called up and I was like, we'll take her. Like, I don't know anything about this process. Again, like I have just leap into
impulsive.
It. A little impulsive. I have a little impulsivity.
I think it's called an open heart.
Yes. And a generous heart.
But I was like, how do I take her? You know, I had just gone through a divorce, and we had a 2-bedroom rental. So I was like, we'll take her. What do I have to do? And that was on a Friday night, and she came on Monday. I had to provide a room for her. So I was
just going to say.
Yeah, no place to stay.
It was a lot. So I had to take everything out of my bedroom, and I just was like, I'll just sleep on the couch. And Jen was there. Luckily, she helped me. And I gave my room to her. And then I wasn't in that house long, because I had to look for a house right away.
Right.
You know, so that wasn't a big deal. But
it wasn't a big deal.
It wasn't a big deal to give up my room.
You know,
and take on another child. And,
but that's how fast it had. Like,
yeah.
You know, and then I had to learn the whole DIFUS situation and the adoption situation, like the whole world of adoption and legal, in the state and in this country is mind-boggling.
Well, what was that like? Because I remember you talking about, you know, I don't think parents understand or even know like what is actually involved, because I know that you were like, I didn't know all of this was going to happen to me.
It is extremely intrusive, and that word is like the biggest word I could use. It is intrusive. They look into your life, like literally down to like, what did you eat 15 years ago on a Saturday morning? You know, what did you do in high school? What did you do? It is so intrusive. Then they come into your house nonstop. I mean, I had people coming into my house 3 or 4 days a week, which you think in the back of your head, you start to get, you know, a little jaded, and you're like, well, why weren't they going into the person who lost this child's house? You know, why me? I'm the good parent here.
Yeah.
But they give you these lists of things like the outlets and the you know,
safety things.
It's like baby proofing times a million. And then you have to go to 21 hours of training. That was in Toms River, downtown Toms River. And just, it was a full-time job. And I'm doing it by myself, but it was a full-time job. And, you know, I saw a lot of older grandparents doing it. And I was like, how are these grandparents doing this? Because
they have to.
Yeah.
It is
There's
a
nowhere
lot.
else.
And I gave them so much credit, because it is a lot adopting a child.
Right. So, when you say you were doing this by yourself, was there a question about, well, you're a single parent,
Yes.
can you
Yes.
adopt by yourself? Because I'm sure
Oh yeah.
there are a lot of people that want to adopt a child as a single
single
person.
parent.
100%. In this state, you foster for a year. So for a year,
Okay.
you're fostering. They're coming in. They're basically interviewing you
Right.
for a year. I mean, you're getting like grilled, like you're under a microscope. What are you doing? What are you eating? What are you
Mhm.
providing her? What is she wearing? Which I understand. They just want to make sure the child's okay. It's, you're going to a million appointments. You can't push back that appointment a week. The dentist, where you're like, oh, we won't do it Tuesday. We'll wait a week. No, you're going to that appointment. You're going that day. It's a lot. And then they make sure, because you're not two parents. Well, what are you going to do? What are you going to do if you get sick? What are you going to do if this happens?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
So that is a lot. So I'm
Mhm.
lucky that I didn't get sick during this process. I got sick, a couple of years after, like 3
Right.
years after. Yeah. Because I don't know how that would have played in, quite honestly.
Right.
But that is a huge thing. But then
Exactly.
again, I was willing to do it and I kept saying, but no one else is taking her.
Right.
Yeah,
And
where would she have
Like
ended
you would
up?
you would think that their attitude would be that of gratitude.
Yes.
Yes.
Here's a woman who has a
In the
full-time
family.
position,
Yes.
has a child, knows what it's like to be a mother.
I have a great kid already.
Yeah,
He's
right.
thriving.
So why
Mhm.
would they?
Right. And I'm family. So
Yeah.
she
Right.
will see her great grandmother. She'll see her other aunts and uncles that
Yes.
she, didn't have any relationships to.
Right.
So I kept pushing the family. I'm blood related. And quite honestly, she looks a lot like me and
Oh,
my son.
okay.
You would never know. She's actually not my biological child, because my
Right.
cousin and I look a lot alike.
Right.
So you had that too. So it's like, well, why not keep her with family?
Yeah.
So that was huge. I think if I wasn't family, that might have hindered a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot. It's very
Right.
stressful.
Yeah.
Right.
So when we're talking about family, how did it work with you bringing in an unexpected
Unexpected guest.
guest to stay with your existing family?
It's hard because your adopted child has a lot of attention. So she's getting play therapy, which is great.
Yes, it's all
great.
good.
They're getting behavioral therapy, play therapy. She had, oh my goodness,
OT
cognitive
probably.
therapy, OT. I mean, there was not a day where she wasn't getting some kind of therapy. Trauma therapy, which was fantastic, and all these resources were free, provided free, which again is amazing. Sometimes I felt like we have to pull back a little bit because she is still 7 years old,
Mhm.
and she actually needs to just make friends and play after school, which
Yeah.
And just be a
you
kid.
know,
Yeah. I'm
some
so glad to hear
days-
you say
Yeah.
that. I actually want you to say it again.
yeah,
Just
play.
after
Because-
school.
and I would-
Forget the enrichment. Just
Mhm.
Just be
be
a
with
kid.
kids.
Be with kids, because I found some of it she would retaliate a little bit because she was over. She was
Yeah.
done. Or we'd have the therapist for 4 months and they'd switch out a therapist
Right.
and they'd start fresh. And here we go. We're starting fresh. And she has to
Another
basically
loss.
another
Retell
loss
and retell her story
retell
again.
her whole story.
Yep.
Somebody else has to learn all about her. And it's exhausting
Exactly.
to go through that again.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what is your self-care? What are your rituals? Do you have any?
I don't really have self-care much.
Which is why we're asking you.
Can you tell? I don't know.
Okay.
I don't really have much self-care,
Okay.
honestly.
So you kind of put
be honest.
put everything else ahead
Yes.
of yourself.
Yes. I know that's not
Okay.
the best answer,
And-
but it's
No,
the honest
it's
answer.
the honest answer. And I think
I'm
that
like, I can make up something, but
No.
Mhm.
I'm actually glad to hear you say that because there are so many people out there that say I don't have time, and what Jen and I try to teach people is, or to open up the door, that if you are your own priority,
right.
you have to decide that you are the priority,
Yep.
so you can be there for everyone else.
Like, I do probably have time, but at the end of the
Ah.
day, I'm like, do I want to watch Netflix and sit on my couch?
Oh, I'm so happy to hear you say
She's
that.
an elevate or escape.
Elevate or
city.
escape.
Uh-huh.
And that's an escape.
That's an
Yes.
escape.
I
So
want to watch Outlander on Netflix
So-
and cut out penguins.
so here's the thing. We're talking, it doesn't, and most people think, oh, I have to go to the gym.
Right.
I have to it's an
Yeah.
hour and a half or 2 hours. No.
Self-care doesn't have to
it's
mean going to the
10
gym.
minutes.
Right.
Maybe sitting quietly, writing in a journal,
Mhm.
doing some stretching, doing a gratitude walk around your neighborhood, calling a good friend. Those are actually self-care things that people don't think about.
I don't
Yeah.
think about. I do the friendships. I have very good friendships, and my best friend actually is always. We do walk a lot,
Oh,
like
good.
when we're
Oh,
together.
well, there you
Well,
go.
then you do have some
Yeah,
self-care
I mean, it might be
rituals.
like just like the other day, we just walked up and down Asbury Park on Cookman Ave just to take a walk there.
Yeah,
or
okay.
just,
and that's
like,
fine.
Yeah.
Not
That's fine.
or the boardwalk, like just
Mhm.
we were in regular clothes. We weren't in like our.
But
We don't.
doesn't
Sometimes we
matter,
It
just,
doesn't
though.
matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
You know, and those social
So-
connections are so
get coffee.
important.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's
I've
yeah.
written many times in my gratitude journal about coffee.
yeah.
Good
It's
cup
like,
of
can we
coffee.
just have
No
tea? My
question.
throat hurts. I'd like tea and walk with you.
Yeah. So, is there a takeaway that you have for our listeners that you would like them to know? Is there something that you've had a wealth of experiences.
Mhm.
You've obviously handled it with grace and love. Quite honestly,
Thank you.
you're welcome. You deserve that. So what's a takeaway that we have?
Well, if you're going to, bring somebody into your home, adopt somebody, you definitely need a huge support system. You cannot do it alone because there are the days that you're going to cry and you're not going to know what to do. And these children, they have baggage and it's not their fault. They have some serious emotional trauma that's deep rooted and they're getting services, but you're not getting any services. And
That's
your
what we wanted
other
to talk about.
child is not getting any services either. And sometimes you just don't know what to do. So if you don't have a good support system, you'll buckle. You really will, because there's nothing out there for the family.
So when I asked you the question about self-care, actually your support system is part of your
it's
self-care.
Part of your self-care.
Because you said support system when you talked about the Alex's Lemonade, when you talked about having cancer, when you talked about the adoption, anything that you've done, you talked about the support system.
Right.
So obviously you're a person that people gravitate to and want to support.
Yeah.
So
I
yeah.
have really good friends at school where I work.
Yeah.
Or like my pod, my people, and my family. My immediate family is just amazing. And you keep your little pod close.
Right.
Yeah.
But if you don't have them, I don't know how you would do it.
Exactly.
Quite honestly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because
It's a
I
lot.
just don't
It's
know.
a lot. So when you're talking about like there's really not much there for the families, let's go back to when you were dealing, in the height of trying to do all this adoption, and there was really nobody checking in on you, nobody checking in on your son. Okay. And then we had talked about our sons got injured around the same time. So then we rolled into COVID and your son was home.
Right.
With, a leg cast and no friends coming and nobody not going to school. Like, how did you navigate all of that?
So it's hard because, like I said, the child you're adopting has so much trauma, deep rooted, but there's also so many resources that are being given to them. There's the behavioralist, there's the trauma therapist, there's all these people checking in. There's the psychiatrist. But then there's so many things that I was dealing with. Like, I don't know how, I wasn't educated on dealing with
you're
somebody.
not an expert in trauma therapy.
With trauma therapy.
Yes,
I don't have any deep-seated trauma.
Yeah.
I had a great childhood, thank God. But I didn't know how to deal with any kind of like bipolar or any kind of situation. And neither did my son. And that was what was hard because there really isn't anything for the families
to help with adaptation.
And that is something this state and this country is lacking. Not only mental health care for children, but severely for the families.
Yeah, that was a question we had too. Like,
Oh.
what do you think that children, like, what are you seeing happen with mental health with children and
this
families?
could be your next mission.
Yeah, and what do we
because
need
you're a
more of?
go-getter. You get things
she
done.
Is.
It
she
was
gets things done.
really, really difficult watching this because I sometimes pulled the plug myself, and I would get, in fights with these people because I would sit there and watch, and I'd be like, no, you know what? We're not coming here anymore. We're not doing this because I'd have to go home with my child, or when that person left my house, and now she's acting out because you just brought up this crazy thing, and then you just left. Well, thank you. Now my child's in distress, and I don't know how to deal with it.
Well, because the kids don't know how to deal
Right.
with it.
And you haven't
once the
taught
therapist
me.
left, they're
Right.
left with all this emotion that's been, released, and they don't know how to process.
Also in the state, and I mean, I might have, I don't know particularly, but I was told by her psychiatrist that we couldn't diagnose her. We couldn't diagnose her until she was 13 with what I was assuming was going on. And then she got diagnosed with at 13. But then at 14 in the state, you could pull yourself off any medications and you could make the decision for yourself.
As a 14-year-old.
As a 14-year-old. So it's like, we just tried so hard. We're on, I'm not pushing any kind of thing, but this is the path you need to go on. These are the people you need to see. But, a preteen doesn't want to go see this therapist and take this medication.
No, they want to go do kid stuff.
Right.
Of course
Right.
they do. So that is also something that is severely lacking, any kind of mental health for our children. And then, you're wondering why these kids have so many problems. And I just saw firsthand, and I wouldn't have if she hadn't come into my life, how much we need to really pay attention to this, because it's just going to get worse. It was sad to see.
Yeah.
Well,
exactly.
we are getting into our final round of questions. Cindy has some things that we didn't tell you about. But before that, is there anything that we did not get to, any topics that you wanted to bring up or talk about?
No, I think that's
Okay.
a lot.
Okay. No, it's wonderful.
Yeah. So, how do you view failure?
Failure. I mean, I failed a ton of times.
We
And
all
Haven't
have.
we all?
and a
We all have.
lot. You fail, and I fail, and I'll just do something different. I'll just be like, all right, that didn't work, so I'll do this.
Yeah.
instead.
Pivot.
Yeah, exactly.
I
The
don't
pivot.
take failure well. I'll just be like, pivot. Like, yeah.
So you don't take it well.
No,
it sounds like you do.
Well,
Yeah, then
I
you
mean,
just
I
go, I'm going to try
guess.
something else.
Yeah, you just do
I'll
something
just
else.
move along. Okay, fine.
Yeah. This didn't work.
Yeah, this didn't
Go
work.
on to that.
Go there.
Good.
So, what are your 3 most important strengths? So, don't overthink it. What's the, we say to people, what's in your core? What do you, I could tell you what I think your 3 strengths are. Jen could tell you what she thinks it is, but what do you think it is?
I am very loyal to people.
That is true.
Fiercely loyal. I love hard.
She does hard things.
I'm very persistent. I don't know if that's a strength or
yes,
that's
a definitely a
or
strength.
that could get my way also.
Yeah, yes. But
Yeah,
this is how you
yes,
get
that's
things
it.
done.
Exactly.
don't
Get
know.
things done. No, those are, so it's important. We ask those questions deliberately because it's important for people to know their strengths. And now you're going to start to think about it every time you make decisions and say, yep, that's because I'm persistent. And that's because I'm loyal. And from everything that you've said here today, I can tell that you have a loyal community as well.
I do.
Yeah.
I'm
You
very
do.
lucky.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Cindy and I are always talking about most people don't want to do hard things.
Yeah.
When it gets hard, people quit.
Yeah.
Okay. And you wouldn't be where you are
I'm
if
not
you
a quitter.
did not do
Exactly.
hard
Not a
things.
quitter.
Exactly.
Because
No.
lots of things you've been through would have been much easier if you just said, I'm done.
Right. No, I'm definitely not a
No,
quitter.
you're
Yeah.
not.
So what's going well in your life?
I'm very happy where I am. I'm very happy what I'm doing. I'm very happy with my family. I'm really happy with where my son is in college. I have one of my son's friends lives with us right now. His mother had passed away from ALS, and
Oh my goodness,
we
I'm so
took him
sorry.
in as my son. My son has a very loving heart, and he asked if we could take him in. And so he's been
Sounds
living
like
with us for 2
your
years.
son is
Yep.
My son's
your,
the
he's
sweetest.
your
got a
mini
big-
me.
He's got a big heart,
He has
too.
a huge heart. He's actually
He
the one
does.
that said that we should take Lily too. So I just love who I'm surrounded with at home.
Beautiful. So we also asked these questions. These are actually from our book.
She knows she
has
has read our
I
book.
have
has
read
that-
it. Yes.
oh,
I was one of the
oh.
first ones to get it.
Yes,
yeah.
she was.
Oh, wow. Okay.
On,
So
on the
is there
field, soccer field.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
We were bringing them to the bleachers
Yeah.
for
on the
you and your
bleachers.
dad.
Yes.
So is there something you want to change? Something in your life you want to change?
Just yes or no.
Yeah,
Okay.
of course.
So what's holding you back?
Finances, quite honestly.
Finances.
Yeah.
Okay. So what's one thing you could do to move yourself forward
With that,
with that?
oh, I don't know. I'll have to think about that one.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, one
yeah.
thing that you cannot do is take on more tasks.
I know because that's like I don't.
because
I
that's
don't know.
I can already hear you going, what other job could I do?
That's exactly what I was just doing.
Mhm.
What else
Yeah.
can I do on the weekend?
Yep.
No, I don't. I don't think so.
No.
But yeah, so it's just something to think about because we
Right.
always, a few people, in fact, people that have been on the episodes, the sessions have said, no, there's nothing I want to change.
Oh
Yeah.
wow. No, there's always something I want to change, like physically, like everything. Everybody always you want to lose weight, you want to look better, you want to.
And then we have to say what's getting in our way.
Yes.
Your yourself is getting in your way.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Of
Yeah.
course. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. And I'll go
Yeah.
back to one other thing that you said. You had talked about time. Like
Right.
you're like, oh, at the end of the day, the time,
Well,
I
I
want to watch
have the
yeah.
time. I'm just tired. Yes.
Mhm. So then
Yeah.
maybe it's a reevaluation of where during the day you have the time to
Right.
fit these things in. Because maybe at the end of the day, it's not your energy level
Right.
time
Right.
period. Like at the end of the day, you're tired. I'm the same way.
Me
Oh, I'm
too.
exhausted
Me
at
too.
the
I'm
end of the
done.
I
day.
can't do it.
I'm done.
Mm-mm.
Don't call me.
I'm not cutting anything
Yeah.
out
I'm
at
on my
night.
couch watching Netflix. Sorry.
I'm not going on my email.
Yep.
That's it.
Yeah.
No.
So
But in the morning,
but in the morning
good.
or
Oh,
maybe in midday
I'm
or
a
other
midday
times.
person.
Yes, you
The
are a
morning
midday
too
person.
is not for me.
But maybe your midday is when you're gonna find the time to get in that
My
that walk or
sister-in-law
that cup of
has
coffee
done a
or
whole-
whatever it is.
Right. My sister-in-law's done like boxing, a whole boxing thing. I'll lay in bed and I'll be getting up, my alarm clock's going off, and I'll be like, wow, she's worked out for 2 hours now, and I'm hitting my snooze button.
Mhm. But if it's morning is not your time, that's okay.
and I think that people have to recognize that, just because this person does this
Right.
doesn't make it right for you.
Right,
No.
right.
You know,
I
like,
wish it was right for me.
Yeah, but why? It won't. It doesn't
Right.
make you happy.
Mhm.
So and
doesn't.
you just said, I'm happy. I don't know your sister-in-law, but would she have said, I'm content where I am?
Yeah, I think she is.
Okay.
And that's
All
good,
right.
too.
Well,
I
that's
think
good
she
to
is,
hear.
too. Yeah.
That's good to
she's a
hear.
great
Okay,
wife.
well,
All right.
Where can our listeners find out more about you? Where can they find you? How can they contact you?
I work at Atlantis Prep School in Manasquan, which is a phenomenal above a preschool. We go above and beyond. It's just amazing. My kids went there. My nephew goes there now. It's just amazing. I've been there for 25 years. Yeah.
Where can they contact you? Is there an email or a
Sure.
number or
Melissa
website?
G at theatlanticclub.com. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. All the things.
And if somebody wanted to get involved with Alex's Lemonade stand
Oh,
with your event in the
definitely.
summer,
Yes.
would they just email you?
Yes,
at
or
that
you
same...
can find us on summercamptac.com. We have Facebook and Instagram for Summer Camp TAC. It's Summer Camp at the Atlantic Club. They could give me a call anytime. Yeah, I would love to have help.
Mhm.
If anybody in the community has a business or an idea, like I said, my friend Alyssa had this great idea, and it just skyrocketed.
And there are a lot of times people want to get involved. They just
Yeah,
don't know
and
how.
I'll take any advice, any strategies.
Yeah.
Definitely.
We're definitely open to
learn
things. That's
anything
for sure.
and try anything.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. All right. So we are at the end of our episode. So thank you so much for coming
Yes,
on.
Thank you for having me.
Yes,
It
it
was
was
so fun.
wonderful. So if you want to learn more about Cindy or about me, you can find us on our websites. Mine is www.mindsetnj.com. Cindy's is www.mindfulnessconnection.com. We are both on social media. I'm at Mindset Jen. Cindy is at Mindfulness Connection. Our YouTube channel is at The Elevation Principles. Our book, The Elevation Principles, is out on Amazon. We've been told our audiobook version will be done maybe by the end of this month and will be released soon. We are also on TikTok at Mindset Connection Pod, and the podcast is on Apple, Spotify, and it's also on YouTube. And this podcast is recorded and produced and edited by an incredible team here at Black Swallowtail Studios in Eatontown. We are giving a shout out to Dylan, who's been with us for every episode. And if you like what you see and what you hear, give them a look on their website. So have a wonderful day, everyone, and we'll be back again for another episode.
And just remember to pause, breathe, and respond. And since Melissa had brought it up, I have to say, do hard things.
Yes, do hard things. Thank you.
Thank you.